idea. So, Lucy, I was a real picky eater growing up.
Oh, really?
And I've since branched out, and I'm excited about that. But one of the things, I never liked the idea of beans, so whenever someone made a chili, I did not like it with beans in it.
That is so funny because I really had never met anybody that did not like beans like that until I went to college. My best friend, Mary Kyle, is the same way. She would not eat beans, and I didn't even realize that was a thing. And so I'm glad that you're back, you know, on to not being too big of a picky eater, but I guess it really is common in something like chili, like you said, people just can't eat if they don't like beans. So this is a bean-free chili.
A bean-free chili,
Yes.
and so for the other parents out there with picky kids at this point, this is something that they would probably like if they also are afraid of the bean, afraid of the chili bean. So bean-free chili. So tell us what you're using here today.
Okay, so I have a 1.25 pounds, a 1.5 pounds. I'm using ground chuck today. Of course, you could use ground sirloin, ground round. This would be great with ground turkey. Usually when I make chili, I usually just do ground turkey just because it's easy. Same thing with spaghetti, but I am using beef today. And our beef in our stores is so good because we use all of the trimmings from all of our beef and make this ground beef, so it doesn't come in prepackaged, so it's awesome quality. So I'm also using a lot of bell peppers, and I'm using a yellow, a red, a green, and an orange, and then I also have an onion in here. So I just chopped all that up, and I'm gonna let it cook with the meat.
Sometimes when you shop at the bigger box stores, you don't get that meat guarantee that you just talked about. You don't get the quality of the meats that you're talking about. So it's kind of unique to have this local grocery chain that we have here where you can go and you know you're getting good stuff.
Absolutely, and all the people back there in the markets are more than happy to help and to cut anything specific. That's what's great. You know, if you want a specific steak or you know, you want something cut up that you were going to buy whole. Anyway, it's just very convenient, and like you said, just you know you're going to get great quality when you go into our meat departments.
So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, so we're just going to let this cook for like 10 or 12 minutes. Just the meat's going to cook through, and depending on what meat you use, if there is some excess fat that isn't cooking off, then you can always drain that. But we'll probably be pretty good with this chuck, so I probably won't have to drain it.
All right, that sounds good. Later on in the show, I do want to talk to you about Thanksgiving coming up, what people need to know about doing their shopping for the holiday season. So we'll get to that too later on today on Studio 10. Chelsea.
Welcome back to the Studio 10 kitchen. We're live with Lucy this morning, and she is making a bean-free chili.
We are. And we talked in the first segment, you know, Joe is not a bean fan.
Right.
And my best friend is not a bean fan. And so I was like, okay, let me give that option. And then we were just talking over the break. Anybody that is watching their carbs, you know, this will be a good option for them. And, or have any other, you know, health issues that may, you know, require them not to be heavy on a bean diet, but they still want chili. So we already started with ground chuck in here, and we added all the bell peppers. So green, red, yellow, and orange, and we also did an onion. So we've just been cooking that. It's been about 10 minutes or so, and as you can see, things have softened up. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste.
Which
is about half of one of those little cans. We'll get that started in. And then I'm just gonna shoot in a little bit of garlic. You could certainly chop it up, but
I love that stuff.
I just had it
easy.
so much easier for me. And then we're gonna add all of our chili spices. They kind of got all mixed up in the car, but what it is cumin, paprika, chili powder, a little bit of garlic and onion powder, a little bit of dried oregano, and salt and pepper. So you know, often you buy those spices for like one thing, and that's like, what else am I going to use it for? So if you didn't, you know, have all those spices and you wanted to just buy the chili packet seasoning, you could certainly do that.
Sure.
So I'm just going to stir this in, and I mentioned that I'm using chuck, but you could use turkey, and if you needed to drain off some of the fat, depending on what meat you use, and you could, you know, you would just do that before this point.
I love a good chili, and you just gave me another option. I never thought about making a bean-free chili, but this is definitely the way. Also, I like how you didn't use cinnamon. I feel like a lot of the chilies use cinnamon, and if you use it, that's completely fine. I just don't like the sweet taste in there.
Yes, and that is a really good point. And when you do your own, you know, with your spices, then you
Sure.
can control that. And I did not add any cayenne pepper or red pepper. We are going to add a little bit of heat by the way of these Rotel tomatoes, or you know, diced tomatoes with chilies. And when I made it for my kids, so an option is we're going to use fire roasted tomatoes, which has no heat.
Right.
It's just you know, they roast the tomatoes and chop them up, so it just has more flavor than regular diced tomatoes, but doesn't have heat. And then I am going to use this to give it some spice, but if you don't want any spice, or if you are going to make it for the kids, then just substitute a can of diced tomatoes.
Sure.
So this is really the only heat that's going to go in. And then of course you could, you know, spice it up however you would like it. And also, if you were a meat-free person, then you could go the other way. So you could do all the peppers and onions, do the spices, do the tomatoes, and then add in beans instead of using the meat. So you could definitely do it either way.
All the chili options here on Studio 10 with Lucy. Joe, before he left last time, he wanted to mention Thanksgiving. It is quickly approaching, you guys. I don't even know where to start, but a good starting place is Greer's.
Yes, and it is, you know, Thanksgiving is, of course, the biggest food holiday in the year. And so already we have, we've started receiving turkeys, we've started receiving hams. It is not too early to shop. So if you are a planner and you like to get things done ahead of time, you know, we already have stuff out, and our Thanksgiving ad will break, you know, in a couple weeks, but already, you know, it's great values out there still, even if the specific items aren't on sale. And I think I mentioned before that if you have a small family, or if you don't want to cook in general, any of our stores that have a deli, we do Thanksgiving dinners, or, you know, you could be untraditional and order fried chicken, or, you know, whatever you want from the deli. So I know a lot of people love that option. Small family, you know, older, maybe can't get all the cooking done like they used to. So definitely have that option too.
Yes, so nice that Greer's does that. If you and your family want to do that, or if you do want to make everything, of course they have everything too at all of their locations. You'll have to check them out. When we come back with Joe, Lucy, we're adding in the tomatoes.
Yep, we're going to add in the tomatoes. That's one of those spices to heat up, and then we're going to add some beef broth as well, and then we will be finished.
Delicious. I can't wait to try this. That's next on Studio 10. Joe.
Finishing things up today with Lucy from Greer's. Lucy, great to see you as always. This is something warm for this cooler weather that's actually coming in.
It feels so good outside.
Yeah.
So yes, we are making a bean-free chili. We already started. We got our ground meat, all of our peppers and onions. We added a little bit of tomato paste and some garlic and all of our chili spices. And so now I'm adding 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. And I mentioned before, that is the only thing in there that has heat to it. So if you don't want any heat, then just use regular diced tomatoes. And then I'm also adding a can of fire roasted tomatoes, which has no heat. It's just a little bit of bumped up flavor since those tomatoes are roasted.
Fire roasted.
Fire roasted.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to add 2 cups of beef broth. And depending on how you like your chili, you know, some people I feel like it pretty thick. Some people like it on the thin side. So 2 cups is just going to kind of be like an average thickness. So you can always add more or less.
This comes together pretty easy.
It does. Yes, it's very simple. So now we'll just let it simmer for about 30 minutes and it will be ready to eat.
All right, so you were talking last break with Chelsea about Thanksgiving and stuff too. I wanted to ask you about turkey information for our viewers out there. A, I've heard reports of a turkey shortage. B, do they need to try to get their turkeys ahead of time?
Those are really good questions. So our stores have already started receiving turkeys, and so it's never a bad idea to go ahead and get your turkey, because of course they come frozen and everybody knows how long they take to defrost. So if you do have storage at your house, it is not a bad idea to get your turkeys. We have not had any information received on us not being able to get what we ordered. But you can always go ahead and get it. And you're asking about cooking them. So any of our stores with delis, we can cook your turkey.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do all your sides, but really didn't want to cook your turkey, we could do that for you for sure. And again, we could do we have dinner packs, or you could just order sides, or all the options. So definitely check out the deli if you are already planning who's going to do what in your house.
I mean, we're thinking about it. We're trying to figure out, are we going anywhere? Are we not going anywhere?
Yeah.
If we don't go somewhere, what size? I mean, this is the time to think about all this.
It really is.
Yeah.
My mom and I were already talking about what, who's going to make what and who's going to be there. And it's a lot of fun. Like I said, the Thanksgiving is the biggest food holiday,
Yeah.
and Claude just went by one of the Fox 10 team members, and he's going to have 3 folks at his house, but they're still cooking. People still want, no
Wait
matter
a minute,
how many.
Claude didn't invite me over to his house?
Or me, and Claude's a big cook.
Come
and
on,
so,
Claude.
I know.
Yeah.
So no matter how many you have, it's definitely a time to think about others and to just, enjoy being around whoever your loved ones are.
All right, so think about your Thanksgiving, make your plans now so you are prepared. And for this weekend, when we get those cooler dips, temperatures in the 40s and 30s overnight potentially, think about some nice warm chili to heat you up. Lucy, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Great to see you. All right.